A financial advisor in Toronto once opened a workshop with a question that made the entire room go quiet. He didn't ask about income. He didn't ask about investments. He asked, right now, if life throws a $2,000 problem at you, can you handle it without panic? Before we go deeper, hit like and subscribe. This might change how you think about money forever. Some people nodded slowly. Most looked away. Because the truth was uncomfortable: a cracked transmission, an unexpected hospital bill, a landlord raising rent without warning. For many people in that room, any one of those would trigger a chain reaction. Credit cards, borrowed money, delayed bills, stress. Not because they were careless, because they were exposed. And here's the strange part. Everyone already knew the advice. Save for emergencies. Build a cushion. Have at least a few months of expenses set aside. They had heard it 100 times. But hearing something and living it are two completely different things. The advisor paused, then told a story. Imagine two people, he said. Same city, same company, same role. Daniel and Marcus. Daniel earns about $78,000 a year. Marcus earns slightly more, around $92,000. On paper, Marcus is ahead, but their lives feel very different. Daniel keeps things simple. He lives in a modest apartment. His expenses are predictable. And quietly, over the past few years, he built a reserve, about 5 months of living costs sitting in a separate account. He doesn't talk about it, but it's there. Marcus, on the other hand, lives bigger. Nicer apartment, newer car, subscriptions stacked on subscriptions. Everything looks polished. But behind the scenes, he's constantly balancing. One unexpected expense throws everything off. Now something happens. Both of them get called into a meeting. Budget cuts, the company is downsizing. They both lose their jobs. Same situation, two completely different realities. Marcus feels it immediately. His chest tightens. Bills start replaying in his mind like a loop. Rent, car payment, utilities, debt. Every decision becomes urgent. He updates his resume that same night. Not calmly, but desperately. He starts applying everywhere. Not just good opportunities. Anything. Because time is now the enemy. Daniel reacts differently. He's not excited, but he's not panicked either. He knows something Marcus doesn't. He has time. Time to think. Time to choose. Time to breathe. So instead of rushing, Daniel does something most people can't afford to do. He waits. He researches. He reaches out to better companies. He prepares properly. He turns down the first offer because it's below his worth. Marcus accepts his first offer because he has no choice. 6 months later, they are both employed again, but the outcomes are very different. Daniel ends up with a higher paying role, better conditions, and long-term growth. Marcus is working again, but for less pay, under more pressure, still trying to recover. Same industry, same starting point, different results. Not because one was smarter, because one had cash. That's the part most people misunderstand. Savings are not just about emergencies. They are about how you think when life gets difficult. When money is tight, your brain goes into survival mode. You stop thinking long term. You focus only on what's right in front of you. Psychologists call this narrow focus. Your world shrinks, opportunities disappear, not because they're gone, but because you don't have the space to see them. But when you have a financial cushion, something changes. You don't just feel safer, you think differently, you negotiate differently, you move differently. Think about everyday situations. When your car breaks down, do you pick the best option or the fastest one? When rent increases, do you explore alternatives or accept whatever is in front of you? When a better opportunity appears, can you wait for it, or do you have to grab what's immediately available? Cash quietly answers all of those questions. It also saves you money in ways people don't notice. When you have no cushion, everything becomes urgent, and urgency is expensive. You pay higher prices because you can't wait. You miss discounts because you can't pay up front. You fix problems late instead of early, and late always costs more. But when you have money available, you slow down. You choose better. You pay less over time. And then there's something even more important: opportunities. They never show up when you're ready. They show up when they want. A side business idea, a discounted investment, a chance to move somewhere better, a course that could change your career. Most people see these opportunities and watch them pass. Not because they're not smart, because they're not liquid. The advisor looked around the room again. Then he said something simple. Having cash doesn't just protect you from bad situations. It allows you to participate in good ones. So, how do you build it? Not with one big move, with consistency. Start small. Even $300 a month becomes $3,600 a year. Increase it when you can. Automate it so you don't rely on motivation. Keep it somewhere safe and accessible, not for growth, but for stability. And most importantly, define what counts as an actual emergency. Because without that line, the money slowly disappears. Over time, something interesting happens. At first, you're just saving. Then you're stabilizing. Then, one day, you notice something different. You're no longer making decisions out of fear. You're making them out of choice. And that shift is worth more than the money itself. Because the real power of having cash is not the number in the account. It's the freedom it quietly creates behind the scenes. Not flashy, not loud, but life-changing. And once you experience that kind of stability, you realize something most people never fully understand. It was never just about saving money. It was about buying control over your life.